She didn't scream. She didn't explain. She didn't even cry. She simply vanished from your bed, your messages, your life. What remains is silence. Not the comfortable kind, but the silence that echoes every weakness you tried to hide. And now you sit frozen, not in grief, in confusion. You thought you were enough. You thought she felt something too. But now you're staring at a name that once vibrated your soul, now reduced nothing. But Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome and the father of psychological sovereignty, left you a message. Not in sentiment, not in poetry, but in brutal, eternal clarity. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He knew rejection. He knew betrayal. And most importantly, he knew what most men today never learn. Your value was never hers to confirm. It was always yours to declare. This video is not about winning her back. It's about never losing yourself again. Every man who's been left behind thinks his pain is unique. It isn't. Pain is common. Collapse is common. What's rare, what's unrecognizably powerful is to become untouchable. Let's enter now the first scenario. A setup is quiet, subtle, but surgical in its effect. You walk into a room. A dinner party, a rooftop event. You spot her. She sees you, but the light in her eyes doesn't flicker. There's no shift, no smile, not even tension. Just indifference. She's speaking with another man. Not flirtatiously worse. Casually. Comfortably. As if you were never once someone she chose. This is the hidden test. Will you collapse into need? Will you try to reclaim her attention, crack a louder joke, fake a laugh too long? Or will you remain sovereign? The weak man does what every untrained man does. He overcompensates. He forces eye contact, walks toward her with false charm, throws nostalgia into the air like bait. And when she doesn't take it, when she turns calmly back to her new conversation, he implodes. Not publicly, internally. His nervous system collapses. He thought he came to reconnect, but what he really came for was proof that he still mattered. And she just confirmed, he doesn't. Why does this fail? Because it reveals that your entire emotional architecture still depends on her gaze. That you have not rebuilt. You have paused, frozen in hope. That is the most repelling energy in masculine psychology. She doesn't feel flattered. She feels pity. Now enter the Stoic. He walks in and sees her. He feels the sting, of course. He's not a robot. But he doesn't flinch. He doesn't approach. He doesn't fake casual. He stays rooted where he is, fully engaged in the moment he was already living before her face appeared. If their eyes meet, he holds the gaze for half a breath, and then returns to his world. His eyes say, I remember you, but I don't orbit you anymore. This is the first earthquake. Not in him, in her. Because now, she feels something she hasn't felt in a long time. Doubt. She thought he'd chase. She thought she'd be the queen of this encounter. Instead, he made her invisible, not through cruelty, but through absence of need. And suddenly, her certainty shatters. The questions rise. Who has he become? Does another woman see him now? Is he no longer haunted? That's the beginning of obsession, not from pleasure, but from confusion. You convince yourself it's not weakness. I just want clarity. You tell yourself it's mature, it's fair. You want to send a message. Just one. Just to know why it ended. You write, hey, I'm not trying to make this weird. I just want to understand what happened. No pressure. I just think I deserve that. You read it 10 times. You edit. You hesitate. Then you send it. And that's when it begins, not the healing, the spiral. You think you're asking for truth. But beneath your polished grammar lies something ancient and desperate. Please, just acknowledge that I mattered. It is not clarity, you want its identity. You want to be re-included in her mental map. And that makes you the opposite of sovereign. It makes you needy. Not for answers, but for permission to feel whole. The weak response always looks like nobility. He frames it as maturity, as self-respect. But underneath is a hidden contract. If I speak calmly, maybe she'd give me one last drop of validation. But she doesn't. Or worse, she replies vaguely. Yeah, I think we just grew apart. Hope you're well. A few cold words. A digital funeral. And now he's wrecked. Because he reached into the fire and got burned by the absence of what he hoped still existed. Marcus Aurelius would say, choose not to be harmed, and you won't be. The Stoic does not beg for emotional closure, because he knows something modern men forget. Your clarity is not hers to grant. Your story is yours to write. When she stopped speaking, her silence became the answer. When she ghosted, her ghost became your mirror. And if you look into it, not with trembling hands, but with ruthless honesty, you'll see the truth. You wanted her to define you. But now you must do what only a sovereign man can do to find yourself without her. The Stoic doesn't message. Not because he's cold, but because he's in command. He does not need an epilogue. He does not need her final word. Because he has already chosen his own internal verdict. It is over. And I do not need to know why. I only need to respond with who I will become. And what does she feel when you don't ask? At first, nothing. She believes the silence is her win. But then it stretches. Days, weeks, no message, no stories posted for her to see. No indirect online cries, just nothing. And then she starts to feel it, not the loss of you, but the loss of control over your perception of her. You're no longer seeking resolution. You've made peace with the wreckage. And now she's no longer a queen looking down on her exile. She's a woman wondering if the man she dismissed may have grown beyond her reach. Her mind returns to you, not out of guilt, but curiosity. Who is he now? Why hasn't he asked? The man who used to orbit is now gone from her system. And that disarms her. It disrupts her assumptions. It leaves an itch no message can scratch. Because the greatest shift in romantic dynamics is not when she replies to your message. It's when you stop needing to send it. Marcus wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Her silence is not a wall. It is a gate. And you only pass through it when you walk away from needing her to open it. You don't need closure. You need discipline. You don't need answers. You need alignment. And alignment means silence, even when your heart is screaming for a reply. You're at a cafe, or a bookstore, or walking into a gallery. And then you see her, unplanned, unexpected. She sees you too. And instantly, time slows. You remember her laugh, her scent, the way she used to look at you. But that's not the expression on her face now. She's calm, collected, pleasant. Her smile is light, her posture loose. She is in control of the energy, and she knows it. The test is immediate and silent. Has he moved on, or is he still orbiting me? Every glance, every syllable, every pause in her voice is calibrated. You think it's just polite conversation, but she is scanning for emotional leakage, for tremors in your voice, for any micro-expression that says, I'm still affected by you. The weak man fails this test before he speaks. He smiles too big. He stumbles over casual words. Wow, what are the odds? You look great. Been a long time. His tone is too eager. He references shared memories, tries to stir warmth. His eyes betray hunger, and she feels it instantly. He still wants something from me. That energy, subtle as it may seem, kills all remaining attraction. He has not healed. He has not risen. He is still frozen in her past, hoping this encounter is his redemption arc. Why does this shatter him? Because the moment he walked into that accidental moment, he viewed it as fate, as a second chance. But that belief alone already disqualifies him. because he framed her presence as divine. And in that, he placed her on the altar again, and himself below it. The Stoic man? He plays no games, but he performs no rituals either. He does not shrink. He does not posture. He simply is. He sees her and acknowledges her, a smile brief and sincere. His voice is calm, deep, grounded. Hey, good to see you. And then he listens not to her words, but to the energy. He remains neutral. He doesn't seek to revive old feelings. He lets her feel that he is new. He doesn't ask how she's been unless he means it. He doesn't ask to catch up. He doesn't suggest coffee sometime. Because he's not fishing. He's anchoring. His energy says, I respect what was, but I do not cling to ghosts. And this is where everything in her brain malfunctions. Because she expected the old him, the man who needed a second glance, the man who used to overshare, overprove, overstay. But what stands in front of her is composed, whole, light and heavy at once. A man who does not speak from longing, but from peace. And now she is the one feeling the internal pull. She replays the moment afterward, his voice, his smile, the way he held eye contact, but didn't linger. She goes home and stalks his socials. Not obsessively, just quietly, curiously. She doesn't understand why she feels that flicker again. He didn't flirt. He didn't try. That's why. Because he didn't try. He didn't need anything from her. What she felt in that moment wasn't seduction. It was evolution. Marcus Aurelius faced plagues, betrayals, death. And yet he wrote, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. The Stoic doesn't control others. He controls his posture, his presence, and his internal state. And in that chance encounter, the woman feels the most unexpected emotion of all respect. Not pity, not nostalgia, but awe. This man didn't return hoping to be seen. He returned transformed, and the transformation cannot be undone. It comes when you've just found your footing again. A random ping, her name, a message. Hey, I saw something that reminded me of you. Or, hope you're doing well. Just a few words, no punctuation, no context, but your chest tightens like a wire pulled taut. Your fingers hover over your phone. Suddenly, you're 12 steps back in your emotional progress. What is this? Why now? You tell yourself it's innocent, friendly, but your nervous system betrays you, because this isn't just a message. It's a test, not of your character, of your center. Do you still belong to her energetic domain? Can she still interrupt your peace? That's what this message is measuring. And if you respond the way most men do, you fail. The weak man smiles at the screen. Relief floods his system. She still thinks of him. He replies fast. Too fast. Haha, wow, that's crazy. I was just thinking of you too. He tries to sound light, but everything in his tone bends toward, please respond again. He drops subtle hooks, references, curiosity bait, anything to keep her engaged, and then silence. Because she didn't want to restart anything. She wanted to feel that she could, that she still had emotional equity. And by replying like a man hoping for rekindling, he confirmed what she suspected. I still control his state. This doesn't reignite her attraction. It snuffs it out completely, because desire in women is not based on kindness. It's based on status. She cannot feel drawn to the man whose heart is still waiting in her inbox. Now the Stoic, he sees the message. He breathes. He registers the emotion and then detaches. He does not reply immediately. He doesn't craft the perfect sentence. He doesn't see it as an invitation. He sees it for what it is, a probe. If he chooses to respond, it's minimal, elegant, neutral. Thanks. Hope you're well too. No question mark, no continuation, no reopening, and most importantly, no hope. Why is this so powerful? Because it radiates abundance. It says, you are not the sun anymore. I don't revolve around this moment. And that neutrality is devastatingly rare. She expected eagerness, nostalgia, flirtation. What she got was sovereignty. And that creates dissonance in her emotional framework. Wait, he's not excited to hear from me? He's not curious about why I reached out. The frame shatters. And now she is in the position of uncertainty. She may reply again, or she may not. But her perception of him is permanently altered. He is no longer the man she left waiting. He is now the man she cannot read. And in female attraction psychology, uncertainty is far more powerful than approval. This isn't a tactic. It's transformation. The Stoic man doesn't use restraint to manipulate. He lives in restraint because he has built himself in silence. And when a woman touches the surface of that stillness, she feels something she can't define, but can't forget. The Roman emperor once wrote, "To love only what happens, what was destined, no greater harmony." He was not talking about fate. He was talking about inner alignment. The man who doesn't crave a reply is the man who cannot be disturbed. And that stillness? That's what haunts her. Not because it rejects her, but because it no longer needs her. And when a woman senses that your peace no longer depends on her presence, she begins to feel the rarest thing of all, respect. There she is, on the street, in a cafe, at an event. She's not alone. She's with him, his hand on the small of her back. She's laughing. That laugh that once belonged to nights with you. That look that once made you feel like the axis of the universe is now turned elsewhere. And then she sees you. Her expression doesn't crack. She nods politely. He doesn't even know who you are, but you know. And now you face to face with the most brutal test of all. Can you watch her move on and remain unmoved herself? The evolutionary sting here is primal. You've been replaced. The subconscious interprets it as social demotion, a dethroning. Everything in your body screams to react to posture, to prove, to reclaim dignity in her eyes. And that's where most men fold. The weak man overcompensates. He tries too hard to be seen as okay. "Hey, long time. How are you guys?" He says with a smile that shakes at the edges. His tone is off. His gestures too big. His voice too high. He introduces himself to the new man with fake confidence. Mentions a new project. Drops a self-deprecating joke. Then retreats head buzzing with the fire of humiliation. She walks away unfazed. But he doesn't sleep that night. Because he didn't lose her in that moment. He lost himself. Again, he showed her that her presence still controls his emotional state. That her new man is a threat. That his center is a performance, not a principle. And in that exposure, he kills any trace of attraction forever. Now enter the Stoic. He sees her, sees him, registers the sting, and lets it pass through him like wind through stone. No sudden movements, no tension spike. If they lock eyes, he smiles genuinely. His body remains relaxed. Posture tall, breath steady. If she greets him, he returns it simply, "Good to see you." Not flat, not overwarm, clean. If they speak, he includes the other man. No sarcasm, no insecurity. Just presence. He does not perform happiness. He radiates it. His energy says, "I have not been diminished by your departure. In fact, I've expanded." And in her mind, that calm is nuclear. She expected awkwardness, jealousy, an energetic flinch. Instead, she finds gravity. And that gravity is heavier than memory. Because what she sees isn't indifference. It's growth. And what she feels isn't guilt. It's confusion. Why does he seem more powerful now than when he was mine? That single moment becomes a crack in her mental model. The man she thought she understood now stands as a mystery. He didn't just survive her loss. He transcended it. That image follows her long after she leaves. not because of what he said, but because of what he didn't need to prove. And now we distill the core truth. You don't win her back by being seen. You reclaim yourself by no longer needing to be seen. You don't respond to rejection with justification. You respond with transformation. You don't compete with the new man. You become the man who doesn't need to compete at all. Marcus Aurelius never begged the gods for better fate. He became the kind of man who could thrive regardless of it. His truth was simple and eternal. It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Rejection is not suffering. Attachment to her approval is. And so now you let go, not to punish her, not to provoke her, but to return to the only kingdom that ever mattered, your own. You are not her regret. You are not her rebound. You are not even her memory. You are her mirror. And as your reflection sharpens, she will see what she gave up, not with shame, but with reverence. You've become sovereign. And now, if you're ready to explore how power, not charm, not looks, but psychological power creates obsession, then don't stop here. The next philosopher awaits, and he's even colder. Nous, Eros never sleeps.